Have you ever considered how a single revolution could dramatically reshape a nation? Today, we will delve into the history of Iran's White Revolution. Emerging in the early 1960s, the White Revolution was a series of far-reaching reforms initiated by Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi, the last Shah of Iran. This ambitious movement aimed to modernize the country, dismantle the feudal system, and democratize the society. It sought to empower the average Iranian, to give them a voice unheard in the annals of their history. The public reaction was a mixed bag, with some embracing these changes and others resisting, creating an atmosphere of tension and anticipation. Yet the Shah remained steadfast in his vision for a modern Iran, undeterred by the opposition. Stay tuned as we explore the transformative events of the White Revolution and the pivotal role of Shah in Iranian history. What sparked the desire for such a vast transformation in Iran? Let's delve into the motivations behind Shah's White Revolution. Before the inception of the White Revolution, Iran was in a state of socio-economic turmoil. The nation was heavily reliant on traditional agriculture, with a large portion of the population laboring in feudal-like conditions under landlords. Education and healthcare were largely inaccessible to the rural populace, and the country's economy was stagnant, heavily dependent on oil revenues and foreign aid. Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi, the then ruler of Iran, recognized the necessity for change. He was not just a passive observer of his country's plight. Instead, he was a visionary, determined to transform Iran into a modern, progressive nation. His ambitions were not fueled by personal gain, but rather by a deep-rooted desire to uplift his people and his homeland. The Shah realized that for Iran to progress, the archaic, feudalistic system needed to be dismantled. He aimed to distribute land to the peasants, breaking the stronghold of the landlords, and in doing so hoped to foster a sense of ownership and pride among the rural populace. But his vision extended beyond agrarian reform. Shah sought to modernize Iran's infrastructure, economy, and social structure. He aimed to improve access to quality education and healthcare, promote industrialization, and foster economic self-sufficiency. He understood that for Iran to stand tall in the global arena, it needed to break free from its dependence on oil revenues and foreign aid. Moreover, Shah recognized the importance of gender equality in a progressive society. He was a staunch advocate for women's rights and sought to empower Iranian women, a move that was revolutionary in itself in the context of Iran's deeply rooted patriarchal culture. In essence, Shah's vision for Iran was a comprehensive one. It wasn't just about economic or infrastructural advancement, it was about societal upliftment, about breaking free from the shackles of tradition and stepping into the future. It was about giving every Iranian, regardless of gender or social status, a chance to thrive. Shah's vision was clear: to propel Iran into a new era of modernity and prosperity. The White Revolution was marked by a series of far-reaching reforms, but what were these changes exactly? The reforms initiated under the White Revolution were indeed sweeping. At the heart of this transformation was the policy of land reform, a bold move designed to break up the large traditional land holdings and redistribute the land to the peasants who worked on them. This was not just about equity, but also about productivity. By giving the farmers a stake in the land they tilled, Shah sought to incentivize them to work harder and produce more. But the changes didn't stop there. The Shah also turned his attention to the forests and water resources of Iran. He nationalized them, bringing these vital resources under the control of the state. This was a strategic move, aimed at ensuring that these resources were managed sustainably and used for the benefit of all Iranians, not just a privileged few. The reforms extended beyond the material to the societal. In a bold step towards gender equality, Shah granted women the right to vote, a move that was as courageous as it was controversial. Women were not just given a voice in politics, but also the opportunity to participate in all aspects of public life. However, it's worth noting a rather shocking irony here. The same women who were granted the right to vote by Shah just a few years later took to the streets in protest against him. They listened to Khomeini, who preached that women should not have the right to vote, and turned against the very man who had granted them this right. It's easy to label these reforms as political maneuvers designed to consolidate power, but that would be a simplistic view. These reforms were a sincere effort by Shah to uplift Iran and its people. He believed in modernization, in progress, and in the potential of his people. The reforms of the White Revolution were his way of turning these beliefs into action. These reforms were not just political maneuvers, but a sincere effort by Shah to uplift Iran and its people. One of the most significant reforms was granting women the right to vote. But isn't it shocking that the same women only a few years later would rally against Shah? Picture this. It's the mid-20th century, and the winds of change are sweeping across Iran. Women who were once confined to the domestic sphere are now stepping out, their voices growing louder in the political arena. For the first time, they are granted the right to vote, a monumental shift engineered by Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi under the banner of the White Revolution. And yet, the irony of this situation is as palpable as it is perplexing. Just a few years later, these very women who had been empowered by Shah's reforms found themselves rallying against him. The streets echoed with their voices, their chants, their defiance. But why? Why would they oppose the very person who had been a catalyst for their empowerment? Enter Ayatollah Khomeini, a charismatic clergyman whose voice resonated with the masses. He spoke, and people listened, women included. His words painted a picture of a different Iran, one that promised equality and justice. But there was a catch. Khomeini's vision for Iran included a return to traditional values, which meant rolling back many of the progressive reforms of the White Revolution, including women's right to vote. Yet, the women who had once celebrated their newfound political rights under Shah found themselves entranced by Khomeini's rhetoric. They rallied against Shah, their former liberator, and listened to Khomeini, who advocated for their disenfranchisement. It's a baffling contradiction, isn't it? But such is the complex tapestry of history, filled with unexpected turns and twists. This strange twist of fate serves as a stark reminder of how empowerment can sometimes lead to unforeseen opposition. It underscores the complexities inherent in societal change, where the very individuals uplifted by a revolution can become the voices of dissent in its aftermath. Such is the paradox of history, where empowerment can sometimes lead to unforeseen opposition. The White Revolution brought about sweeping changes, but what was its ultimate impact on Iran? Let's delve into the aftermath of this transformative period. The White Revolution, initiated by Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, was a profound turning point in Iran's history. It reshaped the social, political, and economic landscape of the nation, leaving behind a mixed legacy that continues to stir debates. The revolution undeniably had its positive effects. It modernized the country's infrastructure, enhanced literacy rates, and led to significant strides in women's rights. The land reforms broke the hold of the traditional landed elite, allowing millions of peasants to own land for the first time. A burgeoning middle class emerged, contributing to the evolution of a more diversified economy. But it wasn't all rosy. There were drawbacks that sparked widespread discontent. The rapid modernization and westernization were met with resistance from traditional and religious communities. The reforms, though well-intended, were often hastily implemented, leading to economic disparities and social unrest. Moreover, the revolution's emphasis on secularization and the suppression of religious institutions led to a growing chasm between the Shah and the clergy. This alienation of the religious elite would have far-reaching consequences, sowing the seeds for the Islamic Revolution of 1979. The White Revolution also faced criticism for the Shah's authoritarian approach. While the Shah was striving for a modern Iran, his methods were often heavy-handed. Many saw the White Revolution as a means for the Shah to consolidate power, leading to an erosion of civil liberties and political freedoms. Yet it's essential to remember that history is a complex tapestry of events interwoven with myriad threads of intentions and outcomes. The White Revolution was no different. It was a period of vast change, upheaval, and ultimately, transformation. It was a catalyst that spurred Iran's journey towards modernity, a journey fraught with challenges, but also filled with possibilities. Despite the opposition and turmoil, Shah's vision for a modern Iran undeniably left an indelible mark on the nation's history. As we reflect on the White Revolution, the role and intentions of Shah come into sharper focus. Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi, the man at the helm of it all, was driven by a vision to modernize Iran and uplift the living conditions of his fellow Iranians. His intentions were clear and transformative. He sought to break away from the shackles of traditionalism and conservatism, to pave the way for a more progressive Iran. The White Revolution was his ambitious attempt to achieve this vision. From land reforms to women's suffrage, the Shah's policies were aimed at promoting social equality and economic prosperity. However, the path to progress is often fraught with resistance and controversy. The Shah faced opposition, even from those he sought to empower. Yet he remained steadfast in his pursuit of modernization, despite the mounting challenges. Whether one agrees or disagrees with his methods, there's no denying that Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi played a pivotal role in shaping the Iran we know today.